So thank you everybody for joining us today. This is our fifth session of our caregiver training and support seminars funded by the Hussman Foundation. And our topic today is supporting skill building and communication. And we're very excited to have Stacy with us presenting, and also Amanda and Adam and Sophia to give their perspective with us. Just another quick mention for the people who signed on a little late. Be sure if you're attending on Zoom to put your name in the chat for me. Otherwise, we will go ahead and get started. Over to you, Amanda.
Hi. Well, my name is Amanda McDaniels. I'm here at Live Learning Center in Harahan. I'm here with Sophia and Adam. They're going to get a chance to introduce themselves in a minute. But before we get started, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about what we do here so that you can understand what's going on. So I am RPM practitioner, which stands for Rapid Prompting Method. Rapid Prompting Method is a text-based AAC method of communication. So what does that look like? It literally looks like working with intentional motor movement to point to letters to access their complete and robust language. So oftentimes we start with these boards that have bigger letters, easier to train the gross motor skills to point to. And then we work up to 26 letter boards, flat boards, and then on to QWERTY keyboards. What you'll see here is just a standard QWERTY wireless keyboard. It is connected to our iPad that we use ProLoQ as our preferred base, and you will hear their voice come out through our device. And so we work a lot with intentional motor movement so that they can access that knowledge. I'd like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves a little bit, and we will go from there. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good, Amanda.
Perfect. All right. Sophia, I'm going to let you go first. Sit up straight and tall. Feet down. Sit up straight and tall. Thank you. Are you ready? All right. You've got this. Okay? It's you and me. Okay. Ready? Sit up straight and tall. Feet down. Okay.
Hi. My.
Keep going. You've got it. Keep it going. You're doing it so.
Name.
You've got it. You're doing it great. You want to sit back? That's fine. Put your leg down.
Is.
Keep going. Keep going.
Sophia.
Good. Switch back. Switch back. Thank you.
I'm.
Lift that elbow up. You got this, Shirley. Keep going. Keep going. Step straight and tall.
Happy. And.
Yep. Doing great. Keep going. Come on. Keep it going. Step straight and tall.
nervous,
Lift that up. Lift it up. Sit up straight up. Scooch over. Come on, scooch over. Come on, I gotta get your elbow off of that couch. Right down. Yeah, come on. Sit. Go. You switching hands?
Toto, V,
No.
here. Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm happy and nervous. Toto, be here.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm happy and nervous to be here. You did awesome. I'm so proud of you. So good.
Hi,
Okay.
Sophia. We're happy to have you.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Can you say that one more time?
I said, hi, Sophia. We're happy to have you.
All right, your turn. You've got this. Okay.
Hi. I'm Adam. I'm 20. Nine.
What the? What the?
Yay. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm 29. Yay.
Okay, it's okay. Use your backspace button. Yep, very good. Keep going. Finish your sentence. Okay, give me your hand for a second. You're killing it. Listen up. Stop. Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Years. Old. I'm Anne.
Mom, do it.
I'm reliable.
Keep going. Finish your sentence.
Speaker. Here. At. Vibe. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm 29 years old. I'm an unreliable speaker here at Vibe.
Hi, my name is Adam. I'm 29 years old. I'm an unreliable speaker here at Vibe.
Hi, Adam. Yes, today. Amanda, for this next section where we're doing the pre-prepared answers, do you want me to do one person and then the other, or alternate? How do you have it set up?
Probably one person, then the other. I would just like to preface this that it's clear that it takes a lot of time and a lot of work for them to do their spelling, which is why we have prepared statements to all of the questions in advance that I will be reading for them. And I'm excited to share. And they have worked so hard. Answering one question can take anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. And so they put a lot of work into this, and I really am excited to be able to be part of just showing you who these awesome people are. So thank you.
Who would you like to start with, Amanda?
Let's go ahead and start with Sophia. Girls first. I know that's what Adam would probably prefer. You ready? It's your turn, baby.
Okay. You're gonna ask the first question and then you want me to ask the others?
Go ahead.
Okay. The first question I have is, Sophia, we don't have enough time to spell out everything. So if there's one thing you really want to spell, what would it be?
Sophia's response was, please know that every word is my own. I prepared them in advance to save you time. Let's normalize spelling.
Our next question is, how long have you been using RPM as a method of communication, and who was your biggest supporter?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia. I have been spelling for 2 years. I am blessed to have many people supporting me. Amanda has been my backbone throughout this process.
Our next question is, what are the challenges and benefits of communicating through spelling?
There is no challenge that compares to the benefits. My authentic voice allows me to have autonomy. Allows me to have autonomy over my life. What 14-year-old wouldn't see that as life-changing? I would say that motor movement is the hardest, though.
And our last question for Sophia is, how do your teachers incorporate RPM into your learning environment?
I am learning to spell with my mom so I can communicate conversationally with my family. I am also part of the MSP, which I get to learn academics about real topics such as Newton's law of motion. For the first time ever, I have a method to show how smart I am and prove that I understand everything. I now get to use RPM with 3 CRPs. Education is forever changed because of it. This is me, sorry. Everything has changed because of it. CRP stands for Communication Regulation Partner. I would be considered a communication regulation partner. And that's it.
Would you mind explaining the MSP acronym as well?
Yes. So MSP is a term that we came up with here at Vibe. It stands for the Micro Spelling Program. It's a 6-hour-a-week program that Sophia gets to come and be with her peers and learn academics and spell and work on motor movement and just be able to communicate with peers using spelling.
Thanks, Amanda. You got the acronym already. Thank you so much, Sophia, for sharing your thoughts with us and taking time to answer our questions.
So proud of you.
Next up, we have some questions for Adam. Our first question for Adam is, do you want to participate?
Yes. So this is me for a second. I was asking if you wanted to participate in being able to be part of this advocacy. His response was, I think it's a great idea, but I have a hard time thinking it will matter. And what if I can't perform? On a side note, as a practitioner, I do want to make it known that that is one of the biggest fears of my spellers, is everyone doubting that it's their voice and feeling like it's a performance. And so that's where that was coming from.
Our next question for Adam is, how long have you been using RPM as a method of communication, and who was your biggest supporter?
A little over a year, my mom.
Next question, what are the challenges and benefits of communicating through spelling?
Challenges? Everyone thinking that you can grab a board and spell with anyone. And then benefits, sorry, that's my fault. Benefits, having an accurate voice to represent me.
Our third question is, how do your teachers incorporate RPM into your learning environment?
My mom and I are working on the skills needed so I can. I also have the best partners here at Vibe.
For Adam, our next question is, what do you think caregivers of kids and adults like you need to know to best support their family member?
Nothing is what it seems. My body doesn't always listen to my mind. My speech is impulsive. It all starts with you. What you believe is what becomes my reality.
And our last question for Adam today, is there anything you would like to share about yourself?
My name is Adam. I'm a senior speller at Vibe. I love all activities, including baseball, piano, and searching for girls that I can take on long walks on the beach. I'm also very sarcastic. I hope to be a strong advocate in the spelling community.
Thank you so much, Adam, for taking time to share those thoughts with us today.
Thank you. For the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to give Sophia one more chance to say anything she wants to say. Sit up straight and tall. You got it. You're killing it, okay? Sit up straight. Where are you going to put your arm? Where are you going to put your arm? You tell me. Sit up.
Peer. Us.
Keep going. You're doing it. Good. Come on. You're doing awesome. Okay? Use your leg.
Well.
Where are you at? Where are you at? Sit up. Finish strong. Finish strong.
Autistics. Are.
You got it. Yep. Finish strong. You got it. You got it. Come on. Finish strong. You got it. Okay. Finish strong. Go. Mm-hmm. Keep going. Keep going. Go, go, go. You got it. Keep going. Go. Finish strong.
Brilliant. If.
Lift that shoulder up. Lift it up. Keep it up. Oh, you want to switch hands? Okay.
You.
Okay, you've got to sit up, baby. You've got to sit up. Sit up straight and tall. Come on. Yeah, sit up. Okay. Go.
G. Give.
Yeah.
Them. The.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Keep going. No, you can't give up yet. You can't give up yet. Keep going. Go.
Right.
Keep going. You're doing so good. Okay. Awesome. Finish strong. Do it.
Tools. Hear us well. Autistics are brilliant if you give them the right tools.
Hear us well. Autistics are brilliant if you give them the right tools. So good. So good.
Thank you so much, guys. Before we move on, I just wanted to read out some of the well wishes from the chat, because obviously you guys see the chat. Let me open it up so I can see the name. Yvette says, hi, Fee, yay. Albert and Astrid say, hi, Sophia, we are proud of you. Christian says, go vibe, so exciting. Y'all are doing great. Sophia, you have nothing to be nervous about. You got this. Adam, keep up the good work. From Sydney. We also have Sophia, you did an awesome job. I'm so proud of you. Love you, from Peggy. Angela says, awesome, Sophia. Albert and Astrid say, proud of you, Sophia, and the amazingly intelligent young lady you are, and great job, Adam. Peggy says, great job, Adam. Mark says, awesome job, Sophia. Dad's so proud of you. Gretchen says, you guys did amazing. Paige says, y'all are doing amazing. Love you guys. Just wanted to share that. And Leah said, both are doing great. Just wanted to let you guys hear, since you can't see everyone who's on the Zoom today. Mark says, Adam, great job. Good to see you. Just so you guys know, we have 31 participants on the Zoom right now and one person with us. Got to talk to quite a large group of people. And Nicole says, thank you to you both.
Thank you for the opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Liz also says, I'm honored to be included in your journey. You're fabulous. Cheyenne says, so proud of you, Sophia. Love you, girly. Thank you so much for being with us today. Really happy to have you. At this point, we are going to move over into Stacy's portion of the presentation. Amanda, you guys are free to either stay on or hop off, whatever works for you. And we really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
So I wanted to say thank you so much. And from my perspective as an individual who appreciates autistic individuals, I want everyone to recognize that giving someone time to communicate in a way that works for them gives us the opportunity to meet an individual. And if this opportunity was not available to Sophia and Adam, we wouldn't know. Sophia's strong, intelligent, and sassy. I love it. Adam is funny, and he likes to hang out with girls at the beach. I mean, communication is not just about asking for your needs and wants. I now have met two new individuals, and it's wonderful. So just take that in. It's important. Communication is so important, and it may look different than your way of communicating, but that is okay. So with that said, I'm going to talk about how everyone can support autistic individuals in their circle. Do you want me to go ahead and start, Claire, sharing?
Yeah, that'll work. Oh, well, let me turn the screen sharing on. I failed to do that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. Let's see. There we go.
All right. You should be good to go now.
Yes, I think I am. And this is always the tricky part. I keep saying that because I just really don't understand why. I think I need like a tech person that just like puts stuff up for me and pulls up resources so I don't have to do it myself. And I can just talk. I'm going to present. All right. So I did not hear Sophia and Adam's answers to the questions beforehand, but I love that the title that I sort of put on our topic of supporting communication skills is I am autistic and I can. I think that is so critical for us to understand that autistic individuals can, and as Sophia said, support my needs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can support those needs. All right, a little bit quickly about me. I am a New Orleans NOLA girl, and I started as a speech therapist in Louisiana, worked in the schools, and years later, I am now everything I do is about autism. And so I work with parents and families. And I wanted to start this presentation off with one of my favorite autistic human beings. And her name is Dina Gassner. And Dina Gassner says, you don't outgrow autism. You grow into it and succeed by maximizing accommodations. And so we're going to talk about what those supports look like. And one of the things that I want to point out about the concept of maximizing accommodations, that doesn't mean we're going to work on visuals and wean them off of it. We want them to do it on their own with no support. That's not what our goal is. We don't ask someone with a hearing impairment to work towards hearing better. We support their hearing, right? So it's the same for autistic individuals, and we need to support their needs, and that's individualized. Our learning objectives for today are just understanding that we need to always presume competency. And I think that all of us can agree with the reality that if someone were to just see Sophia or Adam, they would assume many things, right? But we are going to come from the frame of thinking of assuming competency. Sophia has something to say. Adam has something to say, and they deserve to be heard, whether it's appropriate or inappropriate. People, I've heard of kids' AAC devices being taken away, which is unethical because they are using inappropriate words, right? Maybe using a cuss word. Okay, there's other ways to handle that, right? They have something to say. We can shape that another way, not just remove their ability or their communication access. Another thing that we are going to sort of take away from this presentation is understanding how to prioritize the skill development. And the reason I wanted to address this and sort of intertwine it into the topics that we want to hit is the simple fact that everyone is not supposed to know everything. And I'm not even talking about autism. No one sitting in this presentation can do everything. No one. And so we shouldn't expect that everyone can do everything. And we certainly shouldn't expect that everyone can do everything on their own, right? We are communities of people and we should support one another. And so prioritizing skill development is deciding, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, of course, but deciding how do I prioritize what I need to focus on. And for parents, that's really difficult because you're being told by so many people what your child cannot do. So you need to speak loudly about what your child can do, and then speak loudly about what you would like for them to do next based on their individual needs, not the checklist and the checkbox of what they think everyone is supposed to do, because that's not the way human beings are designed. All right. Claire and I came up with just sort of 4 umbrella topics, right? There's so much that we could talk about. But in terms of building skills, because that is, and I struggle with this concept of building skills, right? Because I am all about embracing people for who they are and how they communicate and how they express themselves and how their body moves. And sometimes I feel like we're forcing things that we think are important, and sometimes it gets a little icky, right? So for me, building skills is important when I think about that, but it's important based on the individual needs of the person. And I will share a story, and today you're going to hear more stories because this presentation is a little bit differently designed. But there was a little girl that I was working with her mother in the home, and the IEP meeting, we were sitting there, and the teacher said, well, we really need to keep the goal of her working with utensils. And I thought to myself, why? And so I asked the mother, along with the translator. So for context, this mother was from another country, and utensils is not a part of their eating style. So I asked the translator, does mother cook traditional foods, and do they eat with their hands or utensils? And the mother said she cooks traditional foods, they eat with their hands, not utensils. So therefore, it was important to look at that teacher and ask her, why are you deciding this is a priority for this child? It's not. She's quite capable of feeding herself in a way that she culturally feeds herself in her home. And she has her food from home at school. Everything's fine. Let's move on to something else that's a priority, right? So that is a story. And I share that story because this was a child that was continuously for 2 years being punished and taught over and over and over again how to eat with utensils. But for that child, it wasn't a priority because that's not how they take in their food. So we have to think about the perspective of the individual, what skills we need to build based on their circumstances, right? So a lot of people talk about emotional regulation and coping strategies, right? Communication, as we just saw, is essential. It is a priority. Sitting in a chair for 15 minutes is not a priority. Communication is a priority. And I repeat, sitting in a chair for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes is not a priority. Individuals can learn and can communicate without sitting in a chair. I'm not saying that structure is not important, but communication is priority. And those of you who came to the sensory, you know where I stand on that. So one of the other things that can be, I'll use the word challenging because I can't think of another one, but navigating social environments, whether that's school, whether that's church, whether that's family, whether it's friends, whether it's cultural activities. If you live in Louisiana, we have a lot of social engagements, right? Lots of large crowd activities. They don't have that in another state, but we have that in our state. So navigating social environments in Louisiana is different than navigating social environments in Utah. It's different. Self-directed and authentic play is okay. And that is something that I'm going to address, not a lot, but I think it ties into presuming competency and allowing that autonomy that Sophia talked about. And I hope all of you keyed into the word of autonomy, autonomy, autonomy. It's so critical. And if you see this picture of this little boy, he's lining up with his own autonomy. He is enjoying playing with his cars or doing whatever it is in his mind with his cars that is good for him. He's not bothering anyone. We don't need to change it. We don't need to move it. We don't need to teach him how to roll a car. He seems to be doing just fine. It is okay. That is his authentic play. And I don't think we have a right to tell someone how to play. I just don't. I'm not saying children can throw toys all over the floor or at people. I am saying children enjoy toys in a way they enjoy them. We can't dictate that. And, I like to give the autistic perspective because that is extremely important. And now that we have access to the autistic perspective, unlike 20 years ago, before social media and books that have been published, Autistic Typing had this post, and I copied it and saved it because I think it's important. And she talks about the fact that skills are not a stacking cup. And I'm going to read this directly because I think every single word is extremely essential. Too often, linear thinkers, which is non-autistic individuals, most professionals that are giving directions and setting the goals, linear thinkers believe that all people must have a foundation of certain skills in order to advance to learn new skills. You don't have to know how to sit in order to learn. So this linear perspective has a basis of presumed incompetence, that if a person can't master one skill, then there's no way possible they can master another skill that is perceived more difficult. Autistic people specifically are known for splinter skills. This means we might struggle with some skills and excel with other skills, and it is not predictable. So this is a powerful message in terms of we are telling you that we process differently, our skill set looks differently, splinter skills is a part of it. So don't hold us back from introducing us to a way to communicate using the rapid prompting method or spelling or an AAC device, because I'm not sitting. And I'm using sitting because that seems to be often a priority, right? And we wonder why kids are frustrated because there is no way to communicate, and all everyone is concerned about is how long they can sit. Kids have something to say, and they need a way to communicate that. All right. So when we talk about emotional regulation, and this is one of my favorites because it's all over the place, not just when it comes to autism. I mean, if I see one more advertisement for calm, how to keep your kids calm, how to keep your kids from being like, when did it become a problem to express your emotions? I don't know why we can't be upset. I don't know why we can't cry. If your ice cream falls on the ground, you're going to be a little upset if you're a 3-year-old, probably if you're a 30-year-old. So why can't you express that? Now, the emotional regulation part is expressing and regulating your emotions so that you can communicate, right, effectively how you feel, and that doesn't have to be with words. But people are making goals for emotional regulation, and they're looking at how to go calm. Be calm, get calm. It only took them 15 minutes to be calm. Why are they emotionally dysregulated? That means some of their supports are not accessible. It's not about managing your emotions so that you're never upset. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's totally ridiculous. Our emotions can change within a second, within a minute. You can be happy watching a movie and then the power goes out. A little frustrated, right? Are you supposed to not express the fact that you're frustrated? So thinking in terms of emotional regulation, I think it's important for us to look at what skill set are we trying to provide for our autistic individual in our life. And it's not about staying calm, quiet, and never being bothered. It's how can I express that? And how can I express it and communicate it in a way that everyone understands? Well, it goes back to sensory regulation. If your sensory needs are not met, you cannot regulate your emotions and respond appropriately. You cannot communicate so that people understand what's going on, what kind of help you need. And sometimes people know. I'm going to tell a lot of stories today. I had a conversation with a mom, and I'm laughing because she's just the cutest, sweetest mom, and she does so much to make sure that her child is supported. But she kept saying that her son would get upset every time that the dad had to leave and go downstairs to the basement to go to work. And she said, how do I stop him from getting so upset? I don't know what's wrong. How do I figure out what's wrong? And I said, it seems pretty obvious. His dad is leaving and he won't be able to hang out with dad because dad has to go to work. So he's upset. Our children actually sometimes like to be with us, right? Our children miss us when we're at work. So they're upset when they don't get to hang out with the parent, right? There's no ABC data that needs to be collected. It is clear he is upset every time his dad has to go to work. And I think it's difficult if you think about it, right? Your dad's right there downstairs. Why can't I go hang out with dad, right? But now dad's working from home. When you leave the house for work, that may be a different sort of concreteness of dad's not available, right? But he's downstairs and he likes hanging out with his dad. So when we talk about emotional regulation, instead of stay calm, which if you ask any autistic teen and adult, they will tell you that is the worst thing you can say when they are dysregulated and emotionally appearing to be upset. It's not good. It doesn't help. It doesn't help any of us, right? When you're upset, staying calm doesn't help you stay calm. So what you can do is, one, you have to know your child, person, individual, spouse, whomever is the autistic individual in your world. You have to know them, right? You have to know what works for them. You have to know how they communicate. You have to know what sensory support they need. Because if an individual, whether they're autistic, whether they're not autistic, when we are regulated, when our sensory system is organized, when we can process information from the environment, we can respond with regulation, right? We can kind of control. So, for example, if I'm driving and someone cuts in front of me and I have to stop short and I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, that person almost caused an accident, I would probably like to respond by running after them, driving after them, and running into them, right? Because my two kids are in the back seat. How dare you put us in danger? But because my sensory system was organized and regulated, I could respond differently. Probably said a couple of cuss words, probably yelled, maybe, maybe not. But I was able to regulate my emotions and choose a response that was maybe less dangerous, right? Doesn't mean I still didn't want to, but I was able to regulate that. So in order to help our children with emotional regulation, it's not about pointing to a sticker of how you feel. It's not about asking them every 30 minutes how they feel. We don't ask anybody how they feel every 30 minutes. Why are we asking autistic kids every 20, 30 minutes how they feel? If we give them a way to communicate, then we don't have to think and wonder what's going on. But the emotional regulation is not about stickers. It's not about staying calm. It's not about saying, it's okay. It's not okay. I just dropped my ice cream. I'm a little upset, right? A little upset. Maybe upset more than someone else would be, but everybody's different. So thinking in terms of your goals, your skill building for that person in your life, when it comes to emotional regulation, sensory regulation is key, access to communication is key, and knowing what works for them. And I know that is an ongoing process, right? It's not, and what worked 2 months ago may not work this month, right? But that's where observing, watching, and supporting their needs. And, you know, I say all the time, and I know that it's hard for some folks to believe me, but I honestly, it amazes me how when my students are regulated, when they're regulated and their sensory needs are met, when I've allowed them, even though my agenda is math, but when I've allowed them to take the 20 minutes they need to jump on the trampoline or the 15 minutes they need to spin in their chair, even though we've started our lesson, when I allow them to regulate, they're able to participate. They're able to emotionally communicate in a way that I can receive and respond and we can work it out. But when they're not regulated and their sensory needs are not met, it's very difficult for them to emotionally regulate, communicate to me why they're frustrated, or even simply ask for sensory time. Like the fact that a child can say, I need sensory break, I need to go outside and run, Miss Stacy, I need to jump. That means they have enough regulation and trust in the relationship that we have that they can ask for that because they know that they will get that. Therefore, they're not going to get into meltdown mode. Meltdown mode's not fun for anyone. So if you take away anything from this, emotional regulation is not about a sticker chart. Sorry, it's just not. And if you want evidence, use a sticker chart throughout your day and figure out if it helps you to balance your emotions and regulate, especially in, the last few days have been a little tense, right? So thinking in terms of please try to minimize, avoid, stop the stay calm. Don't say things like, it's okay. Don't ask someone every 5 minutes how they're feeling. Provide the support, the sensory regulation, the access to what they need, communication, and emotional regulation will just fall into place. And then also accept the fact that sometimes we're just upset. Sometimes we're happy. And sometimes we're sad. That's okay. We're not supposed to be living in bliss every 5 seconds. All right, I'm going to roll over now to communication and noticing or recognizing that this picture I didn't even need, because this picture is to sort of prompt the fact that this is what we think communication is, right? People talking back and forth and responding. Well, today was a perfect example. There are other ways that we can communicate. And I mentioned this before, I think in one of the previous presentations, in terms of, I remember when sign language was not as present in our environment as it is today. I remember when people thought and did not presume competency within the deaf population. They thought they can't hear, oh, they can't do anything, right? Well, yeah, they had something to say, and there was a way developed for them to say it. And that is now acceptable. It is everywhere. Took a long time. So we are here. We are getting educated. We are learning about different methods of communication, and we need to make that accessible to autistic individuals. And we need to make it accessible before we work on sitting. We need to make it accessible as soon as possible. We need to accept that it's okay to accept a nonverbal communication. We use them all the time. And I say all the time to my parents, if your child could communicate to you right now, verbally, they would. Right now, they can't. They can't, for whatever reason. They can't. It may be sensory, it may not, it may be they can't find the word, but right now they can't. So we can accept the nonverbal gesture. We live in a time where technology is everywhere. And I would bet that everyone sitting here knows at least 2 people that never answer the phone. They only communicate via text messages. You never have a verbal conversation with them. They're not autistic. They just prefer to communicate via text for whatever reason. And we accept that. So we need to accept different ways of communication from autistic individuals. And I will share a story just because it's very fresh before I move on to the next topic. I have a friend, and I consider her a friend. She's not a client. She is an autistic individual. She is the mother of 3, and one of her daughters was just diagnosed autistic. She's in speech therapy, and she called me very upset because her daughter was in the speech therapy session and there was a ball. And the speech therapist asked her 2.5, I repeat, 2.5-year-old daughter, to show her, I think there was like other toys. And she said, can you show me, give me the ball that you want? Well, her daughter took her hands and put it on the ball and just stayed there. And the therapist said, tell me the ball. The little girl pushed the ball towards the therapist. She never acknowledged this little girl's method of communication. She asked her to choose a ball. She chose it. At the time, she had no access to her words. So she gesturally finished the communication cycle and gave an answer, and then was asked again and gave an answer. And guess what? That answer was not accepted. So guess what happened? Meltdown, unnecessary meltdown. I'm not saying that we are not to challenge our children. I am not saying that we should accept non-speaking, non-verbal, non-communicative because that's what the child wants. What I'm saying is we have to understand that it is extremely difficult for every autistic individual, verbal, non-speaking, using tech, using spelling. It is exhausting to communicate, and it's a lot of work. So we need to be more supportive, understanding, and accepting. And we need to just wait. for them to process. People get impatient when you ask a child who is a speaking autistic individual, which one do you want? The child's processing. Which one do you want? Say what you want. You didn't give them any time to process. None. Why? They're working hard. They communicate and process differently. Give them time to process and just be empathetic. Have empathy for someone who's working hard to communicate, and the fact that they want to communicate with you. What a privilege, right? All right, so when it comes to communication, it is a priority. It is important. And I talk a lot about sensory regulation because it is so key, but communication is next on the list. If you are sitting for years of your life and you have had no access to communication, how do you think you would behave? What do you think you would do all day when everyone's walking around you, not asking you what you want, telling you what to do, not letting you pick out your clothes and you're 16 years old? You have no way to communicate. At some point, you're going to be extremely frustrated, and then everyone's going to say, oh my gosh, significant behaviors. And simply give them a way to communicate. If we would have offered the access, we wouldn't be here. So there are lots of ways to avoid the challenging parts of sort of parenting an autistic individual. And it starts with understanding communication is key for them. It is key for your relationship, and we need to provide access as soon as possible, even if it looks different than the way we communicate. We just have to really understand the importance of that. All right. Here's one of my favorites, navigating social environments. All right, so I'm going to tell you the Stacy response without my professional hat. If somebody doesn't want to go to a party, they don't have to go to the party. If somebody doesn't want to talk to somebody, they don't have to talk to somebody. Everybody is not an extrovert like myself. So we have to respect. And my dad said a long time ago when I started, my speech therapy training and doing clinic, and I remember my dad said to me, you ever consider they may not have anything to say at that moment? And of course, that was like foreign to me, right? Because I always have something to say. So putting my professional hat back on, navigating social environments it's important because families, based on culture, family dynamics, or just whatever the scenario is, you have social events, right, that you want to participate in. And when our children are little, I do think we need to be a little bit more discriminating when we choose what social activities we want to go to. It's no different than when you have a 3-month-old. You don't bring a 3-month-old to, I don't know, an event like a dinner, an award ceremony, right? It's not a place, it's like, you can't expect a 3-month-old to be quiet during a ceremony or for you to not have to get up and attend to them, right? It's not an event for a 3-month-old. So when you are a new mom, sometimes you don't participate in some social events. And I'm not saying that families should not be able to socialize. I'm saying that if you want to help your autistic loved one navigate social environments, one, they need a way to communicate. I'm just saying, I don't know how we're going to be socially engaged with no method of communication. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It has to be something. So that's important, but also recognizing that navigating social environments always goes back to making sure sensory supports are in place, because that's where the dysregulation, the sensory overwhelm comes from. I know that we are people and we love people. Some of us do, some of us don't, but we like being around people, and we have to recognize that people are the most sensory overwhelming thing in the environment. A classroom full of 5-year-olds is overwhelming sensory information for a 5-year-old autistic child. It's a lot to process. It's a lot. So I think it's important when you are focusing on what social skills you want your child to learn. Some tips that I will give are, one, try to avoid social scripts, because a lot of the social scripts are not the way we communicate. Children don't go on the playground at recess and say, "Hi, my name is Sarah. Can I join you in play?" That's not the way children socialize. At recess, if someone's playing kickball, you just get in the game. That's it. There's no introduction of your name to ask to play, right? You may say, "Hey, can I?" But it's not that formal. So I think a lot of times we're teaching some of these social scripts that make our kids kind of stand out even more in terms of someone or their peers viewing them as significantly different, right? Or odd. So we have to be careful with that. And I will share a story, which I'm not sure if I shared before in the other presentation, but I think I did. Conference, met an autistic gentleman in the elevator, and he asked all of these questions based on the badge that said "from Louisiana." The elevator doors open and we say, "Nice to meet you." And he says, "It was nice to meet you too. And I only said all those things because that's what my speech therapist said I was supposed to do," which was funny, but also like very insightful. He didn't care about knowing us. He only asked us those questions because that's what his speech therapist told him to do. Well, that's not genuine, right? You don't have to talk to people in the elevator. We don't talk to people in the elevator all the time. And since COVID, I think it's different. But I share that story because I remember thinking, wow, I need to look at what I'm doing as a speech therapist. I need to sort of think about that, right? Because that's not what his speech therapist intended, I'm quite sure. So thinking in terms of be careful with the social scripts and the scripts that are being taught from social stories, kind of vet the information and look at it and say, is this really what is practical? This is what we say. And the other is in terms of navigating social environments, think about what the social activity is about, who it's for, and what is the purpose of the autistic individual going, right? Is it important to them? Because I think that's important for us in terms of that autonomy, right? I will use an example of a birthday party, right? Parents, do the, my child never gets invited to a birthday party, which, I have to say as a mom of two kids, I really didn't want my kids to get invited to a lot of parties because that means I have to buy birthday presents. That adds up, right? That's my joke, but it does add up. Having the popular kid is expensive. So thinking in terms of birthday parties, and I will share a story of another friend who is an autistic gentleman in Australia, and he has an autistic daughter, and they like to go to the birthday parties, but they don't necessarily want to participate because it's sensory overload. So they go to the parties with the mom and the other daughter, and they just sit on the side and watch, right? Sometimes they get on their technology, sometimes they don't. That's how they do it. They're like, "I want to go, but I can't do all that. So I'm just going to chill over here." That's okay. That's really okay. And my perspective is, if other people are offended because they're not getting the attention of your child, then those people are not the best people for your child's circle. Because I should not feel, oh, because someone is not talking to me. The audacity of me to think that I'm that important, that everyone should acknowledge me and every child should talk to me. I'm just saying. So thinking in terms of the birthday party, the social, birthday parties are for kids. I know it's become an adult thing, but it is for the children. If your child does not enjoy birthday parties because balloons are overwhelming, because they're worried that the shock of a balloon possibly popping could be overwhelming, then don't bring them to the party. Or bring them to the party at a certain time. Call. I have a mom, she calls and she says, "Hey, what are you guys going to be doing at the birthday party?" "Okay, so we're going to come for the cake and ice cream, and then we'll leave after that. Or we're going to come for the first half an hour, and then we're probably going to have to leave before my child gets overstimulated. And that's it. It's really that simple. The world's still spinning. We all are paying our bills. They're still due. We don't have to do everything because everyone else is doing it. And I think it's important to recognize that autonomy around social engagements and environments and participating in social events, because everyone has a right to decide who they want to socialize with and what they want to opt out of. Now, yes, children don't get to do that until they're adults, but that doesn't mean we can't be respectful if our autistic child does not want to go to the party because it's just too hard. It's not fun. And parties are supposed to be fun. Teens and young adults, the holidays are coming up. A lot of times people don't want them to be on their technology in the corner, in the other room. But we have to respect. That's the only way they can cope with the overwhelming environment within a holiday event with family. Give them that respect. Accept that. If you are a parent or you are a teen that's autistic yourself, you can come up with your own sort of when you want to say hello to everyone and when you don't. I'm not saying children should be able to walk in someone's house and not acknowledge them. I'm saying that it needs to be done in a way that supports them so that they can, because they can when they are supported. You'd be amazed when you put supports in place how our children can, but they also have the, I think, and I can feel myself struggling with what I want to say, because I think it's so important that we respect the enjoyment and the discomfort that an individual has. Because when we don't understand or don't respect when someone has said, I don't want to because it's too loud, that doesn't build a trusting relationship. And trusting relationships are how we build communication relationships and how we get to know the person, right? You can see that Amanda and Adam and Sophia, there's a level of trust there, right? Amanda is acknowledging, supporting their needs. She's accepting. She's waiting. And look what we got to see. It's a beautiful connection, beautiful insight. And so when it comes to navigating social environments, 1, know your kiddo. 2, don't force. Only do part of it. You can have options. Bring that sensory backpack with sensory snacks, like everything they need to regulate, right? If you need to go to an event, I get it. And for those of us in New Orleans, I'm just going to tell you, like I told one of my moms when she said, how can I get my child, to go to Mardi Gras? I'm like, you can't. Mardi Gras is so overwhelming. Oh my gosh, Mardi Gras parades are extremely sensory overload. So you just got to shift out, right? Maybe you can go to one, somebody can stay home. I don't know, come up with a solution, right? So thinking in terms of acknowledging that for some individuals, it's really hard. And when it comes to teens and young adults, ask them. Ask them. Ask them. And that's where having a method of communication that we talked about comes into play. Ask them. Just like we asked Adam and Sophia if they wanted to participate in this event. Ask. They will tell you and accept their response. All right. Now, I could go into lots of things you can do for social environments, but I wanted to sort of give you some ideas because I want everyone to take away thinking about what your kiddo does, what you want for your child, what your child wants for themselves, and how you can start prioritizing what you want to work on, what you want to build in terms of their skill set. And that is important. And I will say with all seriousness that I think it is very critical for parents to become educated and empowered, because a lot of things in our state of Louisiana are changing when it comes to disabilities and supports, and it's going to change a lot more. And so parents need to know what to ask for. They need to know what to advocate for. They need to know what will support the needs of their kiddo. And so hopefully everybody's making a little mental list of what they want to do, what they want to change, what they want to add to their child's goals, IEP, or just your internal family goals for what you guys want to do within your family unit. All right. So I'm going to go to the next one, which is about authentic play, right? And authentic play is authentic play. It's just authentic play. Like all play is appropriate. It's appropriate. It's appropriate. I don't know who decided we were in charge of how people play. I have no idea who decided that. So what I will do is I will quickly pause on the play. And before I go into that, I think Claire has something to contribute.
Yeah, Stacy, thanks. So I wanted to add a little bit to the topic about navigating social environments. One second, I need to spotlight myself too so you guys can see me.
Maybe I could turn off my video.
Oh, Zoom.
I know.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay. So what I wanted to add is I get a lot of contacts from families that are looking for ways to help with having social activities for their children and how to help them navigate situations where they, are socializing with non-autistic peers and they get consistently left out, or that they're having a hard time in these situations, and the families are like, oh, well, how do I teach them social skills? How do I teach them the skills that they need to navigate this situation? And the first thing that I always tell those families is that autistic people have social skills. They already have their own social skills, because I don't think that that's something a lot of providers actually say to people.
Yes.
You hear a lot during the diagnostic process and everything else about all of these deficiencies in your child's social skills. And I think it leads caregivers to believe that their kids don't have any social skills, but they do. They just have their own. And there's actually quite a bit of research on this. And we talked about this in the first session briefly, about how there is research that's starting to show that autistic people have their own natural ways of communicating and socializing, and that autistic people and otherwise neurodivergent people just have different priorities in the way they socialize compared to non-autistic people, and that being autistic is more akin to its own culture than anything else. Nobody is going to go around and tell you that Japanese people don't have social skills, right? They're not going to tell you that Black people don't have social skills. They're not going to tell you that the Hispanic population doesn't have social skills, right? Because they're different. Is there feedback? I can't tell. Okay. Sorry. They're different cultures. And when you start to look at autism as a culture, and that being an autistic person makes you a member of your own cultural group, you can start to see that autistic people do have their own social skills. Sharing about a special interest is a social skill. Connecting with other people through shared interests is a social skill. Going around and just engaging with things in your own way is a social skill. Like nudging them or pointing at things, or just by talking to them without looking at them, that is a social skill. And it's so important, especially for people who their kids are really starting to feel those peer rejections, that you give them opportunities to socialize naturally with other autistic people. So often people are like, well, I want a social group for my child. And what do you have in a social group? A round table of autistic children who are all being told, well, you socialize wrong, socialize this way. Just let them play. Just let them talk to each other. Just let them engage with each other in the way that's natural to them. Giving them that opportunity to have just non-adult controlled social environments with each other is helpful.
Mhm.
And so that's just what I want to say. Like, give your children a chance to socialize with other kids that are like them in the way that is comfortable for them. And even if it doesn't look like what you envision. And for those peer problems, make sure that, like, if your child's at school and they're being consistently rejected by peers, what is the school doing to teach the peers how to interact with your child? You know, is the school teaching the other children about your child's culture? Because it's not just your child's responsibility to develop the social skills. You know, those other kids need to learn about your child's cultural social skills. So that's just what I wanted to add, Stacy.
No, I love that you brought that up. Thank you so much, Claire. And it reminds me of the deaf population because they have deaf culture is talked about very openly, and non-hearing families usually hang out with non-hearing families, right? Mothers hang out with mothers, not their single friends, because the single friends don't have kids. The culture shifts when you become a parent. So I do think that Claire, the research, thank you, Claire, for bringing that up. Just understanding that the schools need to educate the other kids about what autism is. It is not about autistic people have to do things like non-autistic people so that non-autistic people feel comfortable. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The autistic people are already uncomfortable trying to navigate a sensory environment that's not designed for them. And now we want them to be even more uncomfortable in order to socialize with us. I mean, I always think it's like, what an audacity to think that everyone has to do it like you do it so that you're comfortable. I mean, it just blows me away. So thank you, Claire, for bringing up the point of the research and that they have their own way of socializing, but also reminding everyone that our children need to socialize and be with other kids that are like them, but they also need to have peers surrounding them that have been taught and educated. There's a meme going around, I mean, I see it every 5 seconds about teach your children to be kind to children with special needs. And my response to every single one of those memes is, first, we have to teach the adults that are modeling inappropriately that our children are seeing. So if the parents of these children are pulling their kids away when they see someone with a disability, how can we expect the children to be kind, or how can we expect that parent to teach them? They're not demonstrating kindness. So the solution is not about having the expectation that someone will teach someone how to engage with your child. We as parents need to go in, ask our schools to read a book, ask our schools to talk about it, not just teaching the autistic child to socialize the way all the other kids do. And now I have to share a story because I noticed that we do have a little bit more time than I thought left. I recently went to Guatemala, and it was to do some volunteer work. It was in a rural, mountainous, no power, no running water community. And it was beautiful, lovely, didn't want to come home. I was at a children's center where children were playing outside, and there was a building they could go in and out. And there was no adult directives. The children were playing. The adults were there. There was supervision, but there were no directives. There were children there that couldn't speak. There were children there that couldn't hear. There were 2 autistic children. And one of the autistic children liked to line his things up in the middle of the floor where all the kids are running through. And when the kids came over and someone reached to grab one of the items, he took his body and he hovered it over. He hovered his body over the toy, the lineup. And guess what? All the kids understood that communication. All the kids went around it. All the kids respected that he needed to have those toys lined up so that when he went to go on the swing and he came back, they were still there. And I watched for 4 hours. Not one child took those things out of line, and not one adult had to tell them to be respectful. They did it because children are naturally accepting until they have adult intervention. And I share that story, and I might have shared it before, because I have not seen that kind of inclusion and acceptance in a very long time in the United States of America. And I had to go to a rural mountain to remind myself that children can really figure it out. They really can be kind without someone telling them to be. So we have to make sure that we set the example, and we have to be more conscious in what we are doing, saying, guiding, and directing, because our children are watching, and how we treat people with disabilities is how our children are watching how we treat. So thinking in terms of our kids can, our autistic kids, our non-autistic kids can play, engage together if we just allow them that autonomy and stop directing every single move. All right, I'm going to move over to play, which this is kind of an easy segue because we're talking about other kids. This picture, I have to tell you, because I love this picture. I saw this picture on Instagram years ago, and I was determined to find out who did this picture. I was like, this is the picture I've been looking for that I didn't even know existed and didn't even know I was looking for it. In terms of what it was supposed to look like. And I tracked down the individual. It is an autistic individual, a mom. She's autistic and her daughter's autistic, and she's an illustrator. And so I contacted her and I said, oh my gosh, I love this photo. Is it a print? Can I buy it? She lived in the UK. We worked it out. I have the original print. And then I said, I have to use this. Can I please have the rights to this? I'll pay whatever I need to pay. And she said, if you're going to use it in order to help people understand that it's okay for my daughter to line up her toys, it's okay for me as an autistic adult to line up my items, then you can use it and spread the word. So this picture is significant for me because I want autistic individuals to be able to play in their own authentic play. They have every right to do that. And I'm going to share some examples of why it's important. Number one, if something brings a child joy and it's not harming anyone, why are we interfering? Why? Why are we interfering? If there's a problem with, oh my gosh, they're lining it up and it's in the kitchen and I can't walk and it's a danger, fine. Then work with your child and structure an area where they can line up their things. I remember my son had a dinosaur hunt going on one day. Oh my gosh, there were dinosaurs all over the house. I was like, I'm just going to literally break a leg, right? But he was playing this creative game. So I allowed him, right? I figured out another way. I guess I became more alert, but he came up with a way to play that was important to him. And children are supposed to play. They're supposed to play. I know we have forgotten because we're bogged down with adult life and bills. Children are supposed to play, and childhood moves quickly and swiftly, and you're adulting for a really, 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 really long time. So let them play in a way that works for them, if it's not harming anyone. And don't feel that if you have something you bought for your child and they don't play with it in the way, let's say they take it apart, right? We have kids that do that. Oh my gosh, I buy them this and they take it apart. That's a future engineer. That's a future architect. That's a future scientist that may discover something to cure a disease. That is the way their brain works. That is the way they see the world. So allow them to have their authentic play. We can't, when I hear, just as Claire said, in terms of they have their own way of socializing, when you say, I need to teach them how to do pretend play, they are doing pretend play. You just might not understand it, but they are doing pretend play. And it doesn't have to look like the pretend play of the other child to make it valid. Playing with a dollhouse and putting the dolls where they're supposed to go is not a precursor for language and communication. It's not. It's not. I'm going to repeat, it's not. There are children all over the world that develop communication with never having a dollhouse. It's not a prerequisite. Pretend play may look different through your eyes, but please, please understand that play should be respected. Authentic play means something to that autistic individual. And so think about what it means when someone has something they're doing and they get joy from it and it makes sense to them. And then you keep telling them it's wrong. You have to do it my way. It's wrong. What we're doing is sending a message that they are wrong. Their way of thinking is wrong. Their ideas are wrong when they're not. They're just different. And that's okay. It's okay. So I'm going to end this section on authentic play with one of my favorite stories. There was a little girl, and the reason I can't share the video is because this is being recorded and I don't have permission for it to be recorded. So there was a little girl, I think she was 2, and cutest little face. And her mom was really concerned because dad was very upset that she was not playing with the train tracks, you know, the Thomas the Train wooden tracks. And dad said, put them away, throw them away. She won't play with them right. She's not lining them up. She's not putting a train on them. Just get rid of them. All she's doing is banging them on the floor. So mom took video of this and sent me the video and asked if it was sensory related. And I will never forget. I listened to that video, and that little girl was playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Stars, pitch perfect with train tracks. And I was stunned. I remember thinking, this is Stacy, you're just finding something in this, right? This is ridiculous for you to think that she's doing that. So I played it again and again and again. And I said, oh my gosh, she's playing music. We need to get her a piano. Don't take the train tracks away. Oh my gosh, this is like amazing. Met with the mom, showed the mom, and I had the mom listen. And she said, oh my gosh, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Stars is her favorite song. And I said, get her a piano, get her a drum. She has a skill set, a gift. She has something that we need to foster. Banging the train tracks. And when I say banging, dad was a little exaggerative. It wasn't really banging. It was just tapping gently, but that was his perspective. This is a child that now, because her mother wanted to know more, this little girl right now, this was like a year and a half ago, her mother sends me videos. She plays the piano. She's not even 4. If they would have taken the train tracks away, they would have taken away her access to doing something that brings her joy, that makes sense to her, that she can share with the world, because now she's going to be able to do music, and that's something she can share with us. That's a beautiful thing. And I am very grateful that this mom did not jump in and say, take it all away. She's not playing with it appropriately. That's not what you're supposed to do with train tracks. She didn't have access to a piano, but she had the desire to make the music. So she found something. And when I tell you, she would strategically pick a train track based on its length. She would pick a tile. When you watch the video, and I've had friends of mine who are musicians, she strategically knows which tile, which train track is going to make the right pitch to do Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Stars. I feel very special to have witnessed that. That's important to know when children are playing. We don't know what it could lead to because we don't know how they view the world until we get that communication and they can share it, right? I will share another story, and you all can find this on the internet. There is a young man named Grant, and Grant is, or was, a little boy. He's autistic. And Grant was a child that when he would go to therapy, you know, that skill they're always working on, doing puzzles. It's important to do puzzles. So Grant would take the puzzle pieces and pull them apart. Well, everyone was in an uproar. Inappropriate behavior. We have to shift this. That's not the way you play with puzzle pieces. Well, luckily, Grant's mom said, ah, whatever. She buys him puzzles. She lets him tear the puzzle pieces apart. It brings him joy. Well, guess what Grant does now as an adult? Grant gets at least 1,000, mostly more, at least 1,000 for the art that he makes out of torn puzzle pieces. Because Grant, as an autistic individual, as a child, saw something in puzzle pieces that none of us could see. So now we have the pleasure of seeing his art. He has the respect and the autonomy to do what brings him joy. And he made it into something to be an independent adult and make his own money. And I'm sharing this story because I'm not saying every child is a savant. I'm saying if those two moms would not have acknowledged their way of play, would not have accepted their inappropriate use of materials, we would have all missed out. And then they would have been melting down. Because can you imagine? I need to make music, and I have no way to make it. And then we see all of these behaviors that we feel like we need to control when she just needed to make music. He just needed to make art. That's it. All right. So with everything I've talked about, trying to be conscious of maybe leaving some time for questions. This is actually, I left these images because one of my students actually picked these images for the previous presentation, but I thought that they were appropriate to keep because one of my students literally during a session was so angry with his dad because he couldn't do something that weekend or whatever it was that was going on. And he said in a very frustrated way to me, if he would have just helped me, no one wanted to help me. All I needed was sensory input. He could say that, right? Some people don't have access to be able to say that. And he said to me later, my dad wanted me to participate in this event he has. His dad's a DJ. And I wanted to do it. And I could have done it if only someone would have helped me. So instead, he got taken out, reprimanded, and it's Monday, and he's still upset about it. That could have been avoided if he would have only had the support he needed to socialize in that environment, the sensory support, right? He was communicating very effectively what he needed, but no one would help him. What does that teach him? I mean, like, these are the things that, keep me up at night. Like when someone communicates, this is not working for me. When someone covers their ears, respect that. It may not be loud for you, but it is for them. It is for them. And if we want to get our kids to participate, to communicate, we have to respect that. All right, if we want to build skills, we have to understand the autistic individual. We have to know what autism really is, because it's not a behavior disorder. All right, remember the most important thing when you have challenges: routines, visual supports, communication access, sensory supports, and structure the environment so that it works for the child, teen, adult. I cannot stress this enough. All right, so let's look at some questions. I haven't had a chance to look in the chat. And just for the purposes of, going into the question, I kind of like to not have the slide. I feel not connected. So I will just quickly, you can find me if you want to hear more of what I have to say, if you want to ask me a question, if you want to follow information on my social media, if you want resources, this is where you can find me. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this slide. Oh, wait, I think it's stop sharing totally, right? Yes, stop sharing. Is it still sharing?
Yeah, I think it's sharing multiple displays. Let me see if I can cut it off my end.
I think I think I'm in, oh, you know what it is? I think I minimized. So it should not be sharing anymore, right? No more?
No,